What are some ways? I'll start with the street evangelists, and then I'll finish with the pastors. How have street evangelists wronged their churches? How have I wronged churches that I have been in? So we'll just talk about me. So nobody here thinks, I wonder if he's talking about this or that. No, I'm talking about me. The first thing, you have to be meaningfully involved in your church. Now, if you come back from this conference and you haven't done a thing in your church, you haven't ever picked up a broom to sweep a floor, you've never mopped the floor, never changed a diaper in the nursery, whatever, but now you're going to lead a ministry to end abortion. Let me just slow you down a little bit and encourage you. Before you do that, why don't you go to your pastor, to the leadership, and say, Pastor, elder, whoever, where can I serve? You know, your pastor probably did that before he became a pastor. Before I became a pastor, I was pounding nails on a building in January near Buffalo, on the outside of a building. I was, doing all kinds of stuff. Serving, being involved in the youth ministry, stuff like that. Trustworthiness in ministry is only fulfilled that way. We can only measure faithfulness by doing those kinds of things. And I know a lot of people that want to go out and turn the world upside down, but they won't wash a window. They won't take out the trash. Do that first. Be meaningfully involved in your church. Don't just have a membership there. Don't just show up once in a while and never really be actively involved. Be involved. Start there. This is common sense. This isn't rocket science. Make your local church your first priority and not your last priority. This is what I used to do. I'd be traveling all over the place doing street evangelism in the first church that I was involved in Texas, and I didn't really know anybody, because I was gone so much, and I couldn't really minister to anybody because I didn't know anybody. Be there. Let that be the first place of ministry for you. I'm not saying don't do those other things. What I am saying is let that be the first place of ministry for you. And if that's a first place of ministry for you, you'll probably get a lot farther with the leadership. It might take a little time, but I encourage you to do that. Support your church financially first and give to other ministries and causes second. It's right to have your pastor make a living. It's okay. It's really all right. I wish I could do that. I'm bivocational. For a while I was trivocational, I guess. And it's hard doing that. But if you can do that, support your church financially first and give to other ministries and causes second. And if you get to the point where all you think about is the unborn, it's important to think about the unborn, but that's all you think about. You think your only responsibility is to the unborn, and your only responsibility is to the lost, but you can't feel compassion in your heart when someone in your church is going through a difficult time. You need to check yourself.
Yeah, that's good, Pastor.
You have to check yourself. Your pastor is dealing with these things. But not just because the pastor shouldn't be the only one doing it, because we're all Christians, and these verses apply to all of us. I can think back to some of the things that I had to deal with that nobody in the church knew about. The time I had to go out, not in our church right now, this is ways back, but I had to go out one time to a situation where a deacon in our church decided it'd be a good idea to try to get his wife in line by beating her head off of the floor repeatedly. And his 13-year-old daughter called me at 7 o'clock in the morning, help. Come get my dad off of my mom. And I get in there, and there's the 13-year-old daughter, the oldest in the household, right down to a 3-year-old, watching their dad beat their mom's head off the floor. That's the stuff that your pastor's probably not going to tell you about.